Welcome to Wealth Mavericks, the podcast where we help doctors unlock the secrets to building generational wealth. And today we're talking about what you can do differently this year to stop dreading tax time once and for all.
We're in a chess game, and most people wait until the end of the year where there is little time left and you have to make rapid moves to get things done. Your taxes are a byproduct of the choices that you've made in your assets. And so the more time we have to structure assets properly, including the way that income flows to you, the better it is for you.
Once we fix the assets, once we organize the assets, once they're structured in the right order, the right way, whether they're existing assets or new assets, that's what creates the tax savings.
So here we are, a few weeks into the new year, and we've been talking, like so many, about what we can do differently this year to make it our best year yet. And we were saying the old adage is the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And this is something that I'm sure our listeners face, and so many of the doctors who we're already talking to this year. A common theme we see is that when it comes to their finances and their taxes, they know they need to be doing something different, and yet they don't really know what that something different is. And so today, I wanted to talk about that. And of course, it goes beyond just, hey, click the link below, work with us at Terra Firma, end of story. Like, of course, that's what we want to say. But I want to go back to the basics of, you're working with an accountant and you're frustrated every year that you owe so much in taxes, and you see all this information out there about different things you can be doing. So let's look at what does it actually mean to do something different, and how can you start mentally preparing to make 2025 the year you actually do something different. So let's start there.
I think it's a great place to start. I think we need to start with the idea of mindset. They already have a pain point. They experience the pain point every year. They revisit the pain point every year, but yet don't make a decision or decide on what to do or how to do it. So what is different this year versus last year?
Right.
And so, Joe, I would love to hear your point and your perspective on mindset to that. And what's that look like?
Totally. As soon as you were saying that, Bob, my mind immediately went to it. It's like when we experience a pain and then the pain starts to subside and is going away. And then you kind of like, oh, well, it wasn't that bad, and it's like, I think anyone can relate to that. I remember in college, I broke my leg playing soccer, and the trip to the hospital was like the most excruciating pain. Every little bump, literally, like it felt like pebbles that we were going over in the car was just exacerbating that pain. And then I remember feeling like this is never going to stop. Like, when is this pain going to subside? And then when I finally did get to the hospital, I'm sure they gave me some pain medication or something that made it start to go away. It's so easy to forget that pain. It's like you're immediately on to the next things. And I think most of the doctors who listen to this can relate to that experience. The pain of taxes, writing that big giant check every single year. And then the farther you get from that, it just starts to subside. And it's like, oh, I'll think about that another time, because there's a lot of stuff going on in life. And so I think it's that mindset of like, where can I tackle these things in life that I don't want to have to deal with? I don't want to have to go through another iteration of that level of pain. And so I think it really is the commitment to address the issue when the pain is not present currently. And that is, I think, the biggest game changer, Bob, that I've learned from you. When it comes to taxes and tax planning, it is this thing that we dread. It is this terribly painful thing. What's the day in the year? I can never remember what it is, but there's a day in the year where after that day is the money that you make, and up to that day was just taxes you paid. Whatever that is, like every year it comes up, I'm like, oh my gosh, that is painful. You're literally you're working all that time just to pay taxes. And so I think it's really making the intentional choice to say, I'm going to plan properly. That's how you alleviate this pain permanently. And of course, we have membership at Terra Firma so that we can help you do that really intentionally. We know all the secrets. We know all the things. That's why we say unlocking the secrets to building generational wealth. those are real things. That's not just a catchphrase.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to help in the planning process, prepare you to leverage what you're doing rather than being taken advantage of for what you're doing.
And the pain isn't as immediate right now in the beginning of the
Right.
year, but we know that time goes fast and tax time will be here. So that pain is around the corner. And so I want to hear from Bob, because we do talk often about how tax planning is a year-round event. And at the last few months of 2024, we signed more members than ever. And we were like, our hair was on fire every day trying to get all these new members in place and everything done by 12/31. And now it's January and there's, we can take a breath. However, we weren't sure if maybe that would slow down, and it really hasn't. People are still coming to us, and we're finding this mindset of like, it was, last year for whatever reason, but now I want to start with a blank slate and I have the full year to plan. So what can we do for people who join us early in the year versus what we were able to do, at the end of the year for those people? Because obviously now we have a full year with those new members, which would be great. But for those who are going to be joining us, like, what does that look like, and how is it different than what they've been doing in the past?
Yeah. So I think to kind of piggyback off the mindset is the tax planning all year long is a mindset. As the year progresses and we get closer to the end of the year, just means that we have less strategies to be able to put in place, because the government, the IRS, does put in certain time and dates and expiration times to be able to get things set up and do certain things. And then it makes a whole lot of sense of why to do that, because at the end of the year, 12/31 is the end of the year, right? We start all over and hit the reset button and we go into January 1. So when we're looking at a mindset of tax planning and having the entire year, for us, quite honestly, I'm going to be completely direct, it's even more overwhelming for us because we do have the entire year, and now we have all the various strategies available that we can start implementing and putting in place, including our existing members, right? Tax planning just doesn't stop at 12/31 and then nothing else happens. It also resets January 1, and all those strategies we did the previous year, we get to do and reinstate and instill in the current year as well. And then obviously looking at the changes of laws that reset and into the new year or are effective in the new year, we have to take a look at those in that aspect. So from our perspective, it's completely overwhelming. But for your perspective, this is what it's more important is you as the doctor, as the physician, think about your situation. The majority, I would say 90% of our members are in a 35% federal tax bracket, marginal bracket, or higher, which means 37, right? They're in the 35, 37. They're in the top tax brackets. That's just federally. So if they're in a state like California and they're in a 37% tax bracket and they're in a 12 or 10% tax bracket in California, right? They're close to 50%. And the majority of those individuals have other brokerage accounts and other assets to where the Obamacare tax and the net investment income tax of 3.8 kicks in. So they're in a 50%. So once June 30th clicks into July 1, technically, to your point earlier, Joe, what's that date for those folks in California? It's July 1. Now it's their money. Now, obviously, that's not how it works out, right? It's spread throughout the entire year. But if you look at it from a mindset of that perspective, who in their right mind would work for 6 months for free?
Right.
Right? They already did it in residency practically, right? I mean, when you think
exactly
about it,
right.
they barely get paid enough to just survive. But now they're at that point. And so with that mindset, what do we do? How do we restart it? Well, the first thing is you need to make the decision that you're going to make a change.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to do this, period. And for us, it's not just about the tax savings. For us, as we tell our members when we meet with them through discovery, taxes are a byproduct or a symptom of a root cause or an issue. So when a patient comes to you, doc, they come to you not because they're completely healthy and they're just checking in and say, hey, I missed you. I want to visit you. Just to let you know, I'm healthy. right? That doesn't happen. It'd be awesome, right? That doesn't happen. They come to you when they have symptoms. They're not healthy. And you're going to treat those symptoms initially just to create comfort. But you're going to run tests. And your test you're going to run is to find out the root cause of what's causing the symptoms and fix the root cause, right? That's what tax planning is. And so when we're looking at taxes as a symptom, they're a symptom of an income that's created from assets. So you as a W-2 doc, you as a practice owner doctor, your real estate, your brokerage account, the interest and dividends and capital gains from sales of assets, whatever it is as an asset is designed to create some sort of income that the government's going to tax. That's how they generate revenue. So for us, it's about not the tax savings. Oh, that sounds disappointing, right? But that's a byproduct of the assets. Okay. And then once we fix the assets, once we organize the assets, once they're structured in the right order, the right way, whether they're existing assets or new assets, that's what creates the tax savings. And then we grab onto accounting rules, guidelines, IRS tax code, legal rules, all that kind of stuff. We obviously bring into the equation to create that byproduct of, oh, I'm keeping more of my money, meaning less is going to the governments, whatever they are. Right?
And planning plays a big part in that. Do you guys play chess at all? Do either of you play chess?
Mm-hmm.
So in chess, there's regular just chess, like just playing, and then there's like competition chess where you have a timer. And there's two ways to lose. Number one is checkmate, which is kind of the most famous way that you lose. But the other one is you literally run out of time. And I think that's the main thing that I'm thinking is like we're in a chess game, and most people wait until the end of the year where there is little time left and you have to make rapid moves to get things done. And Bob, to your point, your taxes are a byproduct of the choices that you've made in your assets. And so the more time we have to structure assets properly, including the way that income flows to you, the better it is for you. Yeah. And so I think that's the decision. Like, why would you intentionally wait until near the end of the year to make these decisions when we can start now? We have things that we're focused on for our members today that we will not be able to focus on December 17th, or on November 23rd, right? There are things that we can do now because we have time on our side. So Bob, I can't reiterate enough exactly what you're saying with the mindset. Choose to adopt the mindset of planning properly so that you can maximize what you're getting rather than every year feeling that same feeling of angst and anxiety, both when it comes to tax time as a result of the decisions you made the previous year and at the end of the year as you're preparing for the end. And I think I can tell you as a business owner prior to working with Bob, every year was like this surprise. It was like the Jack in the Box, you're spinning the thing. I don't know when it's going to come out. I don't know what it's going to do, but it felt like this surprise that was like, oh, hey, Joe, here's what you owe, or here's what you're going to get back. Like it just felt like this crazy game that I had no control over. And I think that's one of the beauties of our membership in the conversations that we instigate each year with you as a member, letting you know, not only here's what you're going to be paying next year, but here's what you can do about that. Here's the decision, the strategic move you can make to bring that number down. And that is, I think, probably the biggest distinguishing factor that our members appreciate is the proactive nature that we take to building your assets and reducing your tax liability.
Sorry, Erin, go ahead.
No.
All right. So, as you're talking, it made me think about processes and procedures, right? As a physician, in your specialty, the processes and procedures you take every patient through. It's the same, right? Now, the patient's different. Their issues typically are different. Now, obviously, you're in a specialty, so they're going to be very similar, but every patient's different. But your process is the same. Right. And so a lot of times, imagine going to a tax professional where they don't have a process. It literally is like an emergency room. Everything is
Right.
triage, and there's
Right.
chaos, and it's chaotic, and nothing wrong with the doctors and the nurses in emergency rooms. Man, they're all going to be saints, right? I've been in emergency rooms, especially big cities. It is chaos, but somehow they are able to organize the chaos because they have processes and procedures, even though I'm sitting there as an outsider going, wow, how do
Right.
these people do it? Right. But in a normal practice that doesn't have triage all the time, there's procedures and processes, which is what we have as well.
Mhm.
There's a process, there's a procedure, there's steps that we take, there's communication, there's information that we need. And the reason why we do that is we simplify the planning process when we know everything that needs to be done in the order that it needs to be done. The tax code hasn't changed. The legal system hasn't changed year to year to where everything needs to be upended. Same thing with medicine. You're either sick or you're not, right? But what specialty and how you run your practice in your business, whether it's in a hospital or in private practice, you're going to have policies and procedures and a process that everybody's going to go through.
And those things
I
really
see a
matter.
lot of tax guys that are triage. And I think a lot of times that is why our doctors, when they come to us, is they're so disappointed and frustrated, but that's a business model thing. It's actually not a personality thing. It's not the person's fault. It's they're lacking a business structure and process. What were you
Right.
gonna say, Joe?
I'm exactly what you're saying. It's like it is chaos, and right now. So some of the work that we're doing, I think it'd be helpful for people to understand. Like right now, we are working our tails off to prepare all of our members to get their taxes done and filed prior to what is going to feel like a golf ball being sucked through a garden hose. Right, that is the tax system in the U.S. Like, why is it? Try to talk to a CPA during tax season. Good luck. Like some of them are literally working 18 plus hour days to get as much done, filing for deadlines that are imposed by our government, whether it's filing an extension or actually filing their taxes. And so you have this terrible system that's in place. I mean, Bob, you've explained it to me before. So we're going to do one of two things with our members. We're either going to file an extension intentionally, knowing that we don't want to hit the bulk of those files being returned or the returns being filed, because the people who are doing the work are humans. And when you're exhausted, you don't necessarily have the best performance, especially dealing with data and numbers. So some of the things that we're doing right now is getting ahead of that golf ball through the hose so that people can get their returns earlier, or we're intentionally filing extensions so we don't have to rush and have signatures last minute where you feel stressed, doc, where your team feels stressed. Like so that's some of the work that we're doing. Then we begin to shift focus throughout the year. So we at Terra Firma are very intentional about the work that we're doing in the season that we're in so that your life can be peaceful, not chaotic, not feel rushed, not feel anxious.
And that's what I was going to say earlier, is that something that I say on many of my calls is like, yes, you're paying us for tax savings, but we're really here selling you peace of mind. And that is priceless. And when you talk about these systems and processes and procedures that have been set up, to just know that you're in the trusted, the hands of a trusted expert brings so much peace. And Joe, you're talking about being a business owner and the Jack in the Box. And like, there is so much stress and anxiety in the unknown. And so I think that's something so powerful that we provide in our discovery process. And I love that it is black and white. It is math. We can show you in your very first month, here's the impact we are going to have on your tax situation. And whether you see that money right away as cash flow, because now you're not going to owe quarterlies, or you're going to get it as a refund months and months down the line. Either way, just knowing now what that looks like just lets you breathe this sigh of relief. Yeah. And now there's a plan and I don't have to stress and worry about it so much. So I think that's one of the best arguments to be made for signing on early rather than waiting again and feeling stressed all year.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's really a point in time that we will probably not bring on new members toward the end of the year because we want to make sure we're intentional and make sure we don't make human mistakes that are very easy to make, and make sure everything is appropriately and in place the right way.
Right.
Because we have that control. And who benefits from that? It's not us, it's our members. We're still working. It's not like we're taking the time off. We're just being intentional in the process of what actions we're taking.
Right.
And let's just real quick, we'll just talk about the tax seasons. And now I pluralize the tax seasons because there really is 2 tax seasons. Most of us see or think about taxes due on April 15th, which is true. Majority of the people in the country are W-2 employees. But at the end of the day, if you're a business owner, it's March 15th that your business returns need to be submitted. Okay, so you have to make sure all your bookkeeping and all your books are aligned and appropriate, and your year end is closed, and you've done everything you needed to do to file your taxes. If you're not ready, then you file an extension. Right. So those are the 2 dates, March 15th and April 15th. Obviously, they adjust based on the, if it falls on a Saturday or Sunday or whatever. I don't know why the government does that, honestly. We all know that we're in the 15th. We could probably bring up a calendar of 30-30 right now and know when April 15th lies.
It's true.
You know what I'm saying? They enable our habits, our mindset. And anyway.
That's it. No, Bob, that's exactly right. So it's not the 15th when it falls on a holiday. They move it to later, even though it could have been done sooner.
Yeah.
But because of the way this industry is built, everyone is last minute. It's a plague.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be that way. I would just invite any doctor who's listening to this, extract yourself from the madness.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be that way. If you're feeling anxious around tax time, it's because you're choosing to be anxious around tax time, because you've neglected to do the things that you can control outside of that time. Stop doing that.
Yeah.
It's really, really easy.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really, really core principle. You've got to make the choice. We can't make that choice for you, but I can tell you on the other end of that choice is a lot of peace, is a lot of prosperity. Allow our team to come in and do that. And I think, not to be missed, that just because the rest of the world operates that way, because we get, well, why don't I hear this from other people? I don't know. They're idiots. I don't know what to tell you. Like, extract from that system. We've talked about this on this channel before. Like, if you see the long line and a short line, why do people get in the long line? I don't know why they do. They do. You don't have to. So make the choice to be different. Make the choice to plan properly with the advisement of a team who can really help you and make a difference.
Good stuff. That's our message today as we look into a new year. Choose to do something differently to get different, better results. We're so glad you joined us today. If you like this content, please hit subscribe and share with all your doctor friends. And we can't wait to talk to you next time. And until then, go be a wealth maverick.